Hello, dearest friends, beautiful souls of love and light. This is Nanari, Princess of the Sea, coming to you with a new video. And today I'm going to talk about a sensitive topic, something of which I was requested to do a video upon. A gentleman on the other side of the globe, from where I am, contacted me recently and wrote to me a very personal letter, and I would like to share it with you. He has asked me to be free from sharing his name, so I will be free from doing that. But I want to share with you what he wrote to me and also some wisdom within this topic. And what he wrote to me was the following. I have watched many of your videos, including the one on losing everything. It was interesting, and it prompted me to ask you if you have done a video on suicide. If you have not, I would most humbly request you do something on this taboo subject. Truth be told, as you have said in your own video, I have lost everything. Yes, I have failed as a father, a husband, and a man. I feel no different than being marooned on an island. Getting off this island is a challenge, and reconstructing my life seems impossible. I am sure others feel like me. It is in this state that the individual feels most cut off from Source, and it is not easy committing or trusting Source anymore. Suicide as an option, is always lurking in one's mind. Suicide may be a way to unite with Source because we don't have the ability to unite with Source when we are alive. This inability is the crux of our angst, I feel. That said, I know that suicide is the #1 cause of death in the world, more so than the industrial world, as a deep economic depression strangles us. It is the #1 cause of death more than cancer and heart attacks. For men, loss of job, it is a psychic trauma. Women handle it differently. In Japan, they even have suicide parties, in parentheses, mass suicide, because in the Far East and India, suicide is an honorable exit. Despite the assertion of New Agers that we choose this life, I must say we are not committed to it. I wish Universal Source could root a message on how to connect with our individual source to feel more committed to this life. Animals and birds don't commit suicide, only humans do. I wish someone would come up with a good video to address the shame, guilt, self-worth issues that could make us feel we can walk in this world and hold our head high. The problem is that many New Agers confuse the symptom with the cause. Depression is just a symptom, not the cause of the disease. And just as we all wish we can win the lottery to sign our worries away, uniting with Source is also a lottery, when it should not be. Thanks. And when I received this letter, it touched me deeply, and I want to share with you why. I spoke about this in my second book briefly, but I'm going to elaborate on it here. The reason it touched me so deeply is because of something that happened in my own life on many levels, which touched me within the words that this gentleman came to me with. When I was in grade 10, my then best friend in high school at that time, her brother, whose name is James, and ironically is also the middle name of my middle son, Matthew, he committed suicide. And 2 days before he committed suicide, he came to me. He was, even though we were teenagers, of course, he was very much in love with me. And he came to me asking me to go out with him, to be his partner, to go steady with him, as we called it back in those days, right? And he wanted to go out and go parking. And I turned him down. Gently, though I did, I still turned him down because I always considered James as a brother because my best friend at that time, she was like a sister to me. It was always the three of us girls, sometimes the four of us. And so I considered them all sisters. And so their brothers and sisters were like brothers and sisters to me. So I never felt for James what he felt for me. And so, as a consequence, 2 days later, he committed suicide. And for many, many years, I felt an extreme guilt and extreme shame, thinking that I was the one who had caused him to do that. And it parlayed me into a lot of what I do now, to be perfectly honest, because the following year, when I was in grade 11 and also in grade 12 as a senior in high school before I graduated, what I ended up doing was we were just starting out in the world basically in the schooling systems. We were just starting to have something known as peer counseling. And what peer counseling is, if you don't know what it is, it's, where we as teenagers would counsel other teenagers who are going through rough things. And I always had that sense of compassion for what people were going through because of things in my own life. And so I actually became a peer counselor. And I wrote a poem having to do with peer counseling, which subsequently became the earmark poem because this district, the school that I was in, they were, like I said, just branching out, and it was really something that was something new, in those days. And it came out that this poem was utilized and became district wide. And as far as I know, even to this day, this poem is utilized as the district's poem and theme for their peer counseling. So I was quite honored to have that happen. And it did prepare me then. And subsequently after that, as part of also, and I think a lot of it had to do with the guilt and shame I was feeling too over James's death, in being a peer counselor, because I felt like I couldn't save him, at that time. And so maybe I could help save others from suicide. So I did the peer counseling for those 2 years and then also went on later in my studies to become a psychologist, which I never ended up doing. But in my studies, I also did suicide prevention lines for quite a few years and counseling over the phone and that in that nature. And so I'd like to read to you the poem that I wrote back then at, what was I, 16, I think, at that time. Um, I will read to you that poem and then I will continue with some more in sharing. It's called Talking It Out. Whenever you need me, I'm here for you. Just know my arms are open wide. Whether you need my help, whenever you need my help, I'll never be far away. Just call on me and I'll be there. You don't have to explain or tell me what's wrong. Just remember you'll always have a shoulder to lean on. Talk to me, my friend, when you feel all alone. I'll always be here to really listen. Talking it out is the best thing to do. Feelings come out in the open and show the real person in you. Talk to me, my friend. I'm here for you. interestingly enough, when I wrote that at the age of 16, I had not yet come into Thich Nhat Hanh's work in the sense of I had heard of him, but because he was, around when Martin Luther King was around when I was a child and whatnot. But I did not know deeply of his work then. And it wasn't until I began doing the suicide prevention line and helping others in abusive situations, physical abuse and sexual abuse and whatnot, that I stumbled upon Thich Nhat Hanh's work for the first time. And then that poem that I wrote really started to make sense to me because it really embodies Thich Nhat Hanh and what he stands for in compassionate listening and being there for someone, just as I wrote in that poem. And so this gentleman, when he came to me, as the empath that I am, I felt very deeply what he was going through. And I had written back to him and shared with him that although I myself had never really contemplated suicide in that way, I have, as I shared in that video that he reflected upon, the losing of everything, which I will leave the link in the video description so you can watch it. There were times in my life, such as that one that I talked about in that video, and other times when I did feel depressed and suppressed and oppressed in my life in various ways, to where I did say to Source, to God, Spirit, Master Artist, I'm done. I don't want to be here anymore. I want to go home. Please just take me home so I can be with you. And also because I've had the 11 near-death experiences, I've experienced that taste of what it really is to be united with Source beyond this physical body. And so coming back into this physical body often feels like an entrapment, so to speak, from an illusionary earthly perspective. And so I could really feel and understand what he was going through. And knowing that he, in what he was sharing, although he didn't come straight out and say the words, because men often do not, men often talk nonchalantly, they do not come and say it straight out, whereas we, the divine feminine, do. I could tell that in this gentleman's words of what he was saying, that he felt so depressed that he was on the verge of or considering suicide. And so when I wrote to him, I wrote to him in compassion of Thich Nhat Hanh, saying that I am here for you. In that, just like that poem that I wrote, talk to me, I'm here for you. I understand that you're suffering. I know you're suffering. I feel you're suffering. And that is one of the greatest ways that we can unite with Source, through others and through ourselves. Now, just last week, I did a meditational satsang about compassion, and in it, I included the 3 links to Thich Nhat Hanh's videos. So I will leave the link description here in this video description, the link for that, so that you can tap into that, because we did a beautiful meditation in compassion for ourselves and for others. So in that opening of my heart to this gentleman, in what I wrote to him, in telling him that I am here for him, it in turn, just that simple act, it in turn opened him up. It blossomed him to where he felt safe and comfortable and vulnerable enough to share. Just my mere presence, and also, which is what called him to write to me to begin with, because he often calls me the Mother Goddess, and seeks to, and he sees me in that light as the being of the Mother Goddess and of the Hindu goddesses and of the world goddess that I am. And so he sees that light within me, which is what called him to write to me. But then in me being there for him and with him in such compassion and sharing his pain and hearing his suffering and just simply holding him and saying, I'm here for you, that blossomed him to where his response back just flourished. He then shared with me that he felt that it's a predominantly a male problem because he said to me, when men have been neglected in spirituality of things and all this spirituality, that maybe they don't know how to speak their problems, but definitely they lack the female vibes and resolution to handle life when the main malcolm of our engagement of life is taken away from us. Employment, money, and such things he was referring to, and just being a man. And in a lot of ways he felt emasculated, that him being the core essence of who he is as the divine masculine was taken away from him in losing everything. And he said, trust me, when I say 9 out of 10 men feel this way, that I do. We are the weaker sex. So he blossomed and flourished into this discussion, this discourse with me upon his inquiry. And I thanked him for opening his heart, for sharing so vulnerably, for being so raw, and for his willingness to be open. And within that, I shared with him that what did he think was this possible solution to coming into source? What did he think was the possible solution for coming into the divine feminine energy? And so he asked me to clarify what I meant about that. And so I did. And what I responded to him was that what Source has shown me is that we as the divine feminine are meant to help you, the divine masculine, to open your hearts by being open-hearted ourselves. And then in turn, you open our hearts, divine masculine. And I reflected that in my most recent videos here about compassion with the meditational satsang, and then also about the balance in relationships of healing the core wounds. So I will leave the links for that as well so that you can go back and watch those to help you. Because as the Cherokee proverb says, our highest calling as the divine feminine is to bring our divine masculine to source, to God in each moment. And that's how we do it in this life. For in those moments when I felt that I was depressed and felt like, oh, Source, just take me home, it was in that moment that I felt Source uplift me and say to me that not only I can do it, that I am it. That I am that divine spark, and we all are that divine spark of oneness and love and beauty and joy and amazing light. And that when we realize that within us, then that sense of separation from Source disappears. It's often that we feel depressed because our creativity is not being expressed. As he was expressing here, this gentleman, he felt emasculated. He felt that his manhood was taken from him because all of his creative endeavors and ways of expressing and being a man, as the protector, as the provider, as the essence of Source and divine presence that he is, that I explain about how to be that in that video, a couple of videos that I did ago. That was taken from him, he felt. And so we become depressed when we feel that our creative nature isn't being expressed. And so the way to step into uniting with Source again is to, first of all, understand that we are already and always connected. That it is an illusion of separation that keeps us from experiencing that connection in this life. That we don't need to it in bringing it forth through a suicide to unite with Source. We can unite with Source here in this body, and we can do it. And it comes through from appreciation. It comes through creativity, in expressing that creative endeavor within us, that even when we're emasculated as men, even when we as women are oppressed and depressed and told we cannot do something, or we're not allowed to be who we are, that we can be who we are. I spent 20 years with a man in my former marriage in which I felt I could not be who I was. That I somehow had to believe what he said was true and to be the way he wanted me to be in conditional love. And so I felt depressed a lot of the times because I didn't feel I could express my creativity and my energy. And when I did, he often felt threatened because he couldn't handle me standing in my own light because he wasn't in his own light himself. And so to unite with Source is to unite with Ian, but then there's also the compassion. When someone is going through something, such as this gentleman, so much on the verge of possibly considering suicide, thinking it's some welcoming gift like it is in other cultures, to do so, I brought him back to Source, brought him back to the Master Artist, to realize the divinity within him, because we're all divine. And I also brought back that spark of creativity because then he contacted me several days later to say that he was once again looking for a new job. And once again, that spark of creativity and light was within him. And I, as the light of love I am, was able to give that gift back to him, of giving him back to himself. And that's the gift that we're meant to give to each other, all of us. Yes, it comes from within first. And you want to be able to unite with Source and be that spark of creativity. And in those moments that you feel depressed, the question is to ask, okay, Source, what are you getting ready to birth through me now? I know I'm being depressed for a reason, because I can say all those years that I was depressed, that it happened for a reason. I came to understand that my former husband was doing so because he wasn't able to express himself creatively. He was doing so as providing me a lesson of actually giving me the opposite to propel me into who I really am. And I needed to change my perception. I was asked to change my perception of that, to see it that way, instead of seeing it from a victim consciousness of blame and anger and, judgment. I came to see it for the gift that it was. He actually propelled me. And just recently I had that with my twin soul. My twin soul, as much as less than a few days ago, came to me and texted me saying two things that were like a knife within my heart. One is that he said that he was never in my life, that I created him as some sort of delusion, as some sort of a safety mechanism. The other was he was asking me, and actually demanding, that I believe what he says is his truth as my own truth, and forsake Source and what my inner knowing is, and forsake my own heart, and forsake being who I really am to please him. Now, those were not his specific words, but that was the context of what he was saying, because he was saying that if I didn't believe what he said was true, that I'm in delusion, that I'm wrong, that I'm bad, that, all of these different things. And because I spent 20 years with a man, that depressed me. And I came to understand that in a way it was me depressing myself, because I was not being my full expression of my goddess, of who I am as the princess, despite and in spite of whatever my former husband was doing or saying. I rose above what my twin soul said, and I actually found humor in it. And I had written back to him and said, you actually believe that I would forsake Source The inner source within me, you who writes Song of the Troubadour, who says the prayer, and I who wrote Song of the Princess, who says the prayer, as the mirrored companion of Song of the Troubadour, that says, may your heart be guided by love, and may your songs echo this same heart. Ye, him who wrote in there, that body need not understand what spirit and soul recognizes and understands. All of these things that he wrote, that he is not living and being in his truth. And I say this not from judgment, nor do I say it from anger, nor do I say it from blame of victim consciousness, just simply an observation of what is. What is that he came to me and asked me to forsake, not even asked me, demanded that I forsake my source, my inner knowing of my heart and intuition within, to believe something that he says. This is very much what the Illuminati does, and psychopaths do, and other beings who attempt to control and dominate others in life. That is not the way of compassion, nor is it the way of Thich Nhat Hanh, nor is it the way of my life. And I stood up and I rose up and I said to him, I am who I am. I am the princess. I am your princess, whether we're together or we're not. That is who I am. You cannot tell me to be something else. You cannot tell me to be who I am. You cannot control me and dominate me. I rose above that attempt of depression to see it for the gift that it was, to be creative and create this video as a result of this gentleman who came to me, as a result of what happened with my twin soul, as a result of what happened and occurred in my former marriage. I am being this light of love, and everyone around me sees it. I was just at a recent birthday party of a dear friend of mine who I posted her videos and friends' videos who performed that evening. And there was at least 60 people there, and all of them, even people who are acquaintances that I don't get to see as often, and a lot that were good friends were there, and they embraced me because they see the light of who I am. And if my own twin soul cannot see the light of who I am, pearls before the swine, as he texted me once and wrote to me once. I'm not going to dim my light for you, twin soul. I'm not going to dim my light for anyone. And so I offer this to you, this gentleman who wrote this to me. Be free from dimming your light, even if you feel emasculated and your creativity is taken from you. Rise above that in the ashes of the phoenix and ask Source within you and trust Source within. I trust Source within me. I trust the wisdom and the intuition that I am given, regardless of what my twin soul says, regardless of what my family who thinks I'm crazy says. So be it. Let them think I'm delusional. Let them think I'm crazy. I'm in good company. I've often said this in my videos, and I will repeat it again. Go YouTube, the Apple Think commercial. Gandhi was considered crazy. Martin Luther King was considered crazy. John Lennon was considered crazy. Bob Dylan. Oh, there's a bunch of them in that video. They were all considered delusional and crazy. The other one I will invite you to look into as well is called the Wayseer's Manifesto. And it is by Garrett, and I can never remember his last name, so please forgive me. But Garrett does a wonderful video on the Wayseer's Manifesto, and there's also a related video about it, which talks about depression and I think it's autism and maybe a bunch of other things as well related to it, of people who are told they're crazy, and how to bring out that creativity in you. So if you do Wayseer's Manifesto, usually under the search related on the right hand side, you will find that other video that I'm talking about. I can also post the links here. I've done it before in my other videos. But that's how you bring the creativity within you from the source within you, and how you reunite with source when you feel you've lost your way. Because really, it's not even a reuniting. It's not a reunion in the sense of that you've been separate and that you're coming together. It's a reunion in the sense of remembering union, remembering the union that you're already and always connected with source. Source is always with you. Source has always got your back. And I trust that infinitely, regardless of what anyone says. I will take other circumstances and situations in my life and I will take them within me. And so, yes, I took within me what my twin soul said. And then I had myself a good laugh about it, not laughing at him, but laughing with him in the sense of laughing with the fact that he has so gone off the path, so lost his way, that he would actually say that. And then seeing it for the gift that it is, that he's being the catalyst for the opposite, to have me stand in my power. Because there is nothing more sexy, more enhancing, more a bam, as Source gives it to me, being a magnet. Nothing more powerful and which brings a man to a woman, brings the divine masculine to the divine feminine, more than a woman who knows who she is and is confident in who she is. And I am this. And I say this free from being an ego. For you all know, you've all been listening to my videos. You're with me in meditational satsangs every week. Who I am on camera is who I am in real life. And those who are here locally who know me will attest to that. Just last evening, we had a beautiful full moon ceremony that we did in our beautiful winery here. The beautiful pyramid energy, and then being down in the Kukuli, the pyramid energy is the energy of the divine masculine. And above it, it has this beautiful, huge quartz crystal and copper coming down from the pyramid. And my beautiful friend Stephen, who owns that pyramid and owns that winery, and my beautiful friend Athena, who led our meditation. And there had to have been at least 60 of us or better in that pyramid. It just kept filling up and filling up and filling up. It was one of our largest full moon gatherings ever. It was like what we usually do for the solstice and the equinoxes. It was that big. And it was amazing. And many friends who I hadn't seen in a little while over the summer and whatever, it was wonderful to embrace them. And they saw the light. And I had one woman, I don't even think I knew her. I think she's an acquaintance. I've seen her before, but I didn't really know her. What Athena had us do to start off the meditation was to give everybody a hug. So all of us went around the pyramid and we're giving each other hugs. And this one woman who came up to me, she hugged me and she embraced me and she said, I saw your light and could feel your light just beaming from all the way on the other side of the pyramid. Thank you. And I was deeply touched by that. Because when you are being this light of love, people notice. People see you. They really see you. And so there were many of my friends who I came with, and many of my friends who showed up there, and people who I knew that were there. They saw my light and I saw theirs. And we really, heart to heart, saw each other and embraced each other. And then later, after the meditation, we went down into the kukuli, which is the divine feminine energy of the womb of Mother Earth, of Princess Gaia. So we had Father Sky, Prince Sky, of the divine feminine and the divine masculine together in the pyramid. And then we came down into the womb of Mother Earth, Princess Gaia. And we celebrated with feasting and dancing and drumming and blessed the divine masculine who played the drums, including Stephen, who's awesome and rocks on the drums. And as the divine feminine, we danced around the fire. I did the goddess dance, and I had many who came to me and said, I saw the goddess in you. Thank you. You have such a beautiful dance. They see the light of who I really am. And if my twin soul can't see that, his loss, pearls before the swine. And my dear, beautiful soul who contacted me with this beautiful letter, see the divinity within you as I wrote to you and blossomed you. Because within that, what happened is he invited me he said he would subsequently send me letters of asking questions because he feels that there are so many men out there who are hurting and who do not know the divine feminine way. And so he invited me to join with him in doing a co-creation where he would write to me and ask me these questions, and then I would do videos about them and maybe even a book about this, the way of the divine masculine. through both the divine feminine and the divine masculine's eyes. And it's very much in alignment with who I am. And so it sparked his creativity within him because I gave that gift to him. So it comes from within you first in uniting with Source, dear one, and for all of you. And then it also comes in compassion, being there for another when they reach out saying, I'm hurting, I'm suffering, I can't see the forest through the trees, help me. So we give that gift in helping another so that we can and do always unite with Source in this physical form, because that is the ultimate, if you will, of the divine expression of who we are. We don't need to cross over like James did. James chose to. That was his soul's choice. And I came to understand that many years later. And that's how I released the guilt and the shame. And it was beautiful. And James is often with me. I know he's with me right now as I'm doing this video. I can see his smile. As I know there are many others with me right now as I do these videos. I've often said this to my twin soul, that his brother Danny, who crossed over 7 years ago now, and Danny's wife, who crossed over on the 4th anniversary, the day before the 4th anniversary of Danny's death, and my twin soul's grandmother, and his parents, and his uncle who actually used to be friends with C.S. Lewis. All of them are here in spirit with me as I'm doing this video. I feel their energy. My friend Jim, God love him. His name was James too, but we always called him Jim. Very dear, dear friend who crossed over in 2005. And his wife Tony, who I'm still friends with, she's here with me as I'm doing this video too. Tony's still here on this earth. Jim is on the other side and of the veil, as we call it, in spirit. And he's with me as I'm doing this video now too. But we don't have to commit suicide and go home to Source to be with Source. To have Source flowing with us and within us in creativity. And it comes from gratitude, appreciation. So in those moments when you're depressed and you're feeling like you want to end it all, I invite you to take a deep breath. Take 4 deep breaths and feel your heart center. And ask yourself in that moment, what am I appreciative of? What do I appreciate in my life? Start with your very breath. I appreciate my every breath. I appreciate the beautiful nature that's around me and through me and in me. Appreciate my friends and my family. And if you feel you don't have anyone, reach out to me. I am here for you, as I said in that poem. It's part of the reason I mentor and do what I do on this earth, and all I give and be from within me to you is so that people like this gentleman who reached out to me, reach out to me. I will be here for you. Now, please know I do get many, many emails every day. So if I'm unable to return an email to you or letter to you right away, please know that I am still here with you in spirit, in heart. Watch my YouTube videos because that's like me being there physically with you when I cannot be there with you physically. But those who are in dire need, who are like this gentleman, I will respond right away and uplift you and hold you in compassion to see you for who you really are. My middle son Matthew, that I alluded to earlier, his middle name is James. And when I was pregnant with him, he gave me his name as Matthew. And I wondered why. Because originally at first my former husband and I thought we would name him James as first name. And at that time my oldest son Christopher was very much into Thomas. And so he was really loving the James train. So we thought, we'd name him James. But then I heard him speak to me in the womb, and he said his name is Matthew. And I went and I looked it up, and I found out that it means gift of God. And he is. He is a gift of God. He is a gift of divinity. All three of my boys are, honestly. And the tears are of love and joy that I'm shedding right now. Because by all rights, I was told I would never have children. And each one of my three boys had their own struggles in getting here, and each one of them almost died. And actually, the story of Matthew coming into being, of me actually getting pregnant with him, is definitely a story of divinity. He is my God. He is my gift of divinity. And so are all of you. You are God. You are a gift of divinity. You are source energy. So for those of you who are depressed, know in compassion that I am here for you. And be there for each other. Hold and love each other in compassion. Really listening and allowing another to empty their heart. Because that's what I did for this gentleman. And in that, beautiful creativity abounds now. He's a light with source energy. So may you give that gift to each other. I am here for you. I love you. I appreciate you. I honor you. Thank you for being here on this planet, because your light of love is so needed. May this video embrace you and hold you in love always, for this is who you are. Spava.